even though I was like suffering and unhappy, I kind of would tell myself, but this is like easy, you know, you
Mhm.
know what you're doing. I wasn't good. I mean, I was a great teacher, still am. I'm a great teacher. I know how to teach all different, disabilities, likes, dislikes. But I was so unhappy. I would wake up in the morning and like just not want to go.
Hey there, I'm Amber Harper, former burned out teacher turned teacher burnout coach, dedicated to helping other teachers like you to grow through your burnout and take your next best steps toward what you want from your career in education and in life. After an embarrassing emotional breakdown in front of my teacher besties, I knew something needed to change, and that something was me. I decided that I wasn't going to settle for burnout as my sentence as a teacher, mom, wife, or friend. And I knew it was going to take way more than practicing conventional self care to make the progress I wanted to make. No amount of manicures, bottles of wine, or bubble baths was going to save this girl. Fast forward to a few years later, and I've used everything I've learned about teacher burnout and personal development to write a book, build a course, and lead a community of burned-in teachers who refuse to settle for a life of burnout as their forever reality. I've used my burnout as an opportunity to become an active participant in my life, in the classroom and here on the mic, using all that I've learned to teach kids and serve teachers. And you can do the same. The Burned In Teacher podcast is one part burnout and all other parts action, inspiration, and support to help you grow through your burnout and live a happier, more fulfilled career and life. So take a deep breath, my friend, because you're about to take your next best step to becoming a burned in teacher. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up, Burned In Teachers? Happy New Year and welcome to the Burned In Teacher podcast. I'm your host, Amber Harper, and I'm so excited that you're here for the first episode of the brand new year. So, in an effort to help to inspire you in this brand spanking new year of 2023, I thought it'd be a perfect time to introduce you to my friend Amy. Amy is a Burned In Teacher University student. She's been teaching for 16 and a half years, and she works as an autistic support teacher in the grades K through 3. But as you'll hear, and all of my burned and bored teachers, you are totally going to relate to her story. She was burned out for years and she didn't even know it. And as she tells her story, I can just hear that for so many years she had a desire for change, and she just was so afraid to take that leap because she was comfortable. Can you relate? I know I have been there before. I know that I especially felt that way back in the years of 2011 through 2014. I was just really comfortable with my day in and day out, and yet I was miserable. And I know if you've been listening for a while, you know that part of my burnout journey. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Amy. And before I do, could I ask you a quick favor? Would you mind jumping into Apple iTunes and leaving me a rating and a review? Those ratings and reviews help so many teachers from around the world to find this podcast when they're looking for support through their burnout. And I know that you know what that feels like, to feel like you're alone, to feel like no one can help you, to feel like you are destined to live this teacher life as a miserable person in the classroom and in life. So if you wouldn't mind jumping over there and even jumping into Spotify and giving me a quick rating, that would be so extremely helpful, and I would really, really appreciate it. All right, without further ado, let me introduce you to my friend Amy. I cannot wait for you to hear her story. I'll see you inside. Burn on. Well, hey, Amy, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I'm so excited to hear your story. So tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm so excited to be here. I'm a big fan. So I am a special ed teacher, but as we know, being in special ed, you wear many, many hats and
Mhm.
you can teach many different students. So the term special ed to me is pretty broad, as I feel like I have done learning support, I've done emotional support, I have done life skills, I've done multiple disabilities. And currently I'm an autistic support teacher. But in my district, we have like a tiered program. So I have the ones that need the most intensive support.
Mhm.
I have been a special ed teacher for, I'm going on 17 years. I can't believe
17
it.
years in special ed.
17
Wow.
years
You
in
are an angel.
special ed. I mean, there's also been my like breaks, my maternity breaks and whatnot, but
Right.
I just got at my district, just got my 15-year gift. And I was like, 15 years in one place or in one district, I should say.
Mhm.
12 of those years though were at middle school.
Mm.
And I currently am in an elementary school.
Okay.
And elementary school seems to be where my heart really belongs. I loved middle school, but my big part of my burned out process was, middle school is a different time of life, and
Mhm.
elementary school um, is just a totally different ballgame. But my heart is definitely in the elementary world. So, yes, 12 years in the middle school. And then I started our program now in the elementary school. It's
Mm.
kind of crazy.
It is crazy. And how commendable to say that you have been doing this for 17 years. That's amazing.
It's amazing. I mean, the IEP process has changed so many times.
Mhm.
The way we progress monitor has changed. The number of programs that I have to learn the gen ed program, and then the gen ed, then I have to learn how to modify the special ed program, and just the professional developments that I've attended that really I need to know for gen ed purposes, but really will never, get to. So it has
Right.
been quite a journey. And what has led me here is because I really just love it, but
Mhm.
I can't always keep up with
Right.
the ins and outs of the
Right. Right.
special ed
And we're going
world.
to definitely get into that. But I also would love to hear too about Amy as outside of teaching. Like, what are you outside of teaching? What do you enjoy doing? Do you have kids? I guess you
I
mentioned
do,
maternity
yes.
leaves. Yeah. So tell
Yes.
us about.
So I have two kids.
Mhm.
They're very close in age. So it's also really funny being a teacher mom, because
Mhm.
there's some things I get, and then we have conferences, and I have to sit on the other end of the table. It's very interesting to be a teacher mom.
It is.
I
I
have
agree.
Yes, it's very odd. So I have just started, and I'm actually running soon a half marathon. Running was something that was always on my bucket list. I don't know why. I just thought, like, I don't really love to work out, but I love the feeling after I've got a good workout in.
Mhm.
So I do work out pretty consistently over probably the past 7 years. That's like kind of what I do. And then I volunteer at my kids' schools. We're in that very interesting time of my kids are finding what they like. My
Mhm.
daughter does horseback riding. I know more about horses than I could have ever imagined in all my years. And then my son's a big swimmer.
Mhm.
I know more about swimming than I've ever known. So I love to read. I love to, I always say walking is my favorite exercise. We have an Australian Shepherd dog, so she loves to go with me on our walks.
Yeah, they're very
Um,
active.
Very active. She is
Mhm.
a great dog. And then my family, actually, my sister lives and her husband live up the street, and they have little ones. So whenever I need like a baby fix, or my sister needs, help for something, I get
Yeah.
to that world of being an aunt. So my days in and out, I feel like are very I
Yeah.
love to take naps.
Yes.
They're such a luxury.
They are. I agree with you. They are such a luxury.
Mm.
And I have so many commonalities. I grew up with horses. Horses, I don't
Oh,
ride anymore, but I love talking to people who are in the horse world. I love to
it is a
run.
world.
Yes. Yes. Parents, I've been through the whole, my girls are older now, but I remember sitting on the other side of the table as a parent at a parent teacher
Yeah,
conference and just, it's just a different experience.
it is.
Yeah. So, All right. So now that we know you as a person and as a teacher, I mean, teachers are people
Mhm.
too, but out inside
Right.
and outside the school, tell us a little bit about, you kind of alluded to part of your burnout story was when you were at the middle school, you maybe needed a change. So you went to the
Mhm.
elementary. So tell us a little bit about your burnout story, what that looked like, what it felt like for you.
Right. Well, I wish I had found this podcast such a long time ago because I was burned out and had no idea.
Mm,
I was burned out and I was ready to leave teaching altogether at one point, and it was pre-pandemic, so I couldn't blame it on the pandemic. That happened when I was in elementary school. But I didn't really have any processes for any of my paperwork, which really kind of was hard, and part of it was my fault, but there was really nobody there to guide me in
mm,
that, and I had just all my paperwork would just pile up, and then it was due, and then I'm bringing all of that home. At that time, I had real little ones, like, my son was just a baby, and it would be like, "Okay, you watch this episode of, Blue's Clues," and I would be on my computer trying to catch up, but I was never really catching up.
mm,
We were just at a point where I work in a small district, but we had a good reputation. We still have a good reputation.
mhm,
Everybody was coming to us. And it was like the class sizes, I felt like overnight, were just growing and growing and growing. And the needs were coming in, were just changing all of the time. I always wanted to go back to elementary or go at to elementary school, but I
mhm,
had a um, really supportive administration. I built a great team of support staff. So even though I was like suffering and unhappy, I kind of would tell myself, but this is like easy, you know, you
mhm,
know what you're doing. I wasn't good. I mean, I was a great teacher, still am. I'm a great teacher. I know how to teach all different, disabilities, likes, dislikes. But I was so unhappy. I would wake up in the morning and like just not want to go. But I was like, I have to go. I have a family at home I'm supporting. I have people at work that are depending on me. And then I would be out for one day and everybody was like, it wasn't the same without you. So then I wasn't taking personal time. I was taking sick days when I was just really, really sick, or if my kids were sick, which, as if you're a parent, have kids of any time, a sick day with a kid is like the least relaxing thing.
exactly.
So it was just such a time where I had the highs and I had the lows.
Mm,
And, but I wasn't managing anything. I was just flying by the seat of my pants, and I wanted something more for myself, but I didn't know if it was ever possible
mhm,
to actually have that. So I think that I've gone through all of the stages of burnout without really even knowing that I was going through it, and really just pushed through to the other side. But that's not what I want for myself, especially
mm.
now.
Hey there, I'm interrupting this episode really quickly to tell you about my newest free workshop, How to Tackle Your Teacher Burnout in 30 Minutes. Okay. Truth be told, you can't fully cure your burnout in 30 minutes, but you can learn some incredibly important mindset shifts and steps you can take today to begin to see dramatic results tomorrow. The fact is, you have to be willing to make changes in your own life now if you want to keep changing the lives of your students. And heck, not just the lives of your students, but your life as well. That's important too, right? In this free on demand workshop, you'll learn 3 mistakes that most teachers make that will keep you stuck in burnout for far too long. You'll learn 3 actionable mindset shifts that will help you begin to tackle your burnout without the self care lecture, by the way. And you'll learn the process to design a personalized burnout plan to help you tackle your burnout and thrive in the classroom and in life. And spoiler alert, in this less than 45-minute workshop, I'll also give you an opportunity to save money on my signature course, Burned In Teacher University. But I only offer this to teachers who are truly ready to make some big shifts in their lives, and it starts with this workshop. So if when you think about your career in education, you immediately feel stressed and overwhelmed, consider this free workshop and the free accompanying workbook your free toolbox for preparing for changing your reality today. Are you ready to take action and do what's best for future you? Wherever you are on your burnout journey, and no matter your burnout type, this workshop is guaranteed to help you to take a next step that is best for you. Who wouldn't want that? Go to burnedinteacher.com/workshop today. Register for free, print out the workbook, pour yourself something nice, and begin to change your life in less than an hour. Listen, I remember the moment when I knew I had to do something truly different. And unfortunately, my moment came in the form of sobbing to my coworkers about my dog crapping in his kennel. There was nothing pretty about that moment, and I don't want that for you. So before you hit your rock bottom, and heck, even if you have, jump over to burnedinteacher.com/workshop today and do something truly different for your burnout. While your burnout isn't your fault, it is your responsibility to move through it. So let's do this together. I'll see you there. Now, back to the episode. So, what was kind of your breaking point then that caused you to choose to take that leap to the elementary school, even though you kept having this narrative in your head, as well as, people think that they're paying us a compliment when they say, gosh, it was so different when you weren't here, basically almost accidentally like guilting you and making you think, oh
Yes,
my gosh, I can't leave because if I do, it's a dumpster fire. And,
right.
that kind of puts that extra pressure on you. So like what caused you to go ahead and make that change?
I pretty much said, if I don't make a change now, I'm
Mhm.
going to find a new job.
Mm.
And I talked to different people that I had trusted had been there for a while. And, people were like, but it's amazing how when you say that you need a change, that you're suffering and you're unhappy, people really almost try to talk you into what you're doing, making it, well, but next year will be better. Next year will be better. And I was like, I've been doing this for, it was well over a decade by that point, and I was
Mhm.
just like, no. And I just went to my principal at the time, and I was like, I'm ready.
Mhm.
And, we had the talk before because different opportunities had been come my way. And I was like, no, 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 because I was so stuck in being comfortable of
Mhm.
what I knew that finally I was like, it's now or never. It was one of those opportunities. Both my kids were still in daycare at the time, so I only had one drop off,
Mhm.
and it was just like, if I don't do this now, I'm either going to leave teaching. And I love being a teacher mom. I
Mhm.
absolutely, I say to people when they're so sad about like their maternity leave coming to an end, I'm like, being a teacher mom is the greatest. Just wait. So
Mhm.
I felt like if I'm going to do it, I just have to do it. And I was only changing, um, I was still staying in the same district.
Mhm.
So that also made it a little bit easier to know that I was just kind of going, I could still go back if I didn't like
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So that did help me.
Yeah. So it was interesting to, again, this seems like a common theme. So it sounds like you, even though, again, people thought that they were being encouraging, they really were tearing you down, essentially.
Yes.
They were those tear
I
downers because they wanted you to be safe. They wanted you to stay the same when you were
yes.
clearly ready to grow or you were going
Right.
to go. Like there was no other
That
option.
was it. I
Hmm.
really had no other option. And the other thing that I learned is that so many people depended on me,
Hmm.
yet I couldn't depend on anybody
Mm.
because it was just so much was on my plate. And then I also wasn't always getting the credit that I felt like I deserved. And it was just at a time where it was kind of a dark time because on the outside, I put on a great facade. You know, I am happy, life is good, but really I wanted more. I
Mhm.
always wanted more. And I was able to talk myself into not wanting more and
Mhm.
staying where I was, you know.
I'm over here like smiling ear to ear, but it's almost like that uncomfortable, like, oh, I know how hard it is. That was me when I taught third grade. That was
Yes.
me. That was me when I had that infamous breakdown. I kept telling myself, you can't want more. You shouldn't want more. You have your kids go to the school. Your husband teaches down the hall. Like,
Yeah.
you should be so happy. What is wrong with you? You're being so
Uh-huh.
selfish. You should not want more. There's no more to be
Right.
had, and gosh, it just crushes you.
It does. And that's really what was happening. I was just kind of in a holding pattern.
Mm,
And, and change is hard,
mm,
in
mm.
special ed. We always preach about flexibility. And then here I was being so rigid and
Yes.
not wanting to take any chances or try something new or really do what was best for me.
Hmm.
And I was just like, okay. So one day, an opportunity kind of fell in my lap, and they were like, we're starting this new program. We know you want to move. What do you think? And I was like, I'm in.
Yes.
And I took it.
Good for you. So that was 12 years ago, right? So was that your
That was 4 years
Oh,
ago
sorry, 4 years ago, because you were 12 years in the high
at the
school
middle
or in the middle
school. Yes.
school, and then yes, okay, so 4 years ago, but you didn't join Burned In Teacher University 4 years ago. So I'm
No.
curious about what has happened in the last 4 years that caused you to seek out, like, wherever you found Burned In Teacher. I don't know.
Yes.
That would be an interesting question to ask too,
Yes.
but clearly there was another bout of burnout that happened that caused you to look for some support.
Yes.
Mhm,
So the pandemic was very difficult because teaching elementary special ed
mhm.
really was it to sit back and think of all that we did during that time.
Mhm.
I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We were working 24/7. So, what has led me is now we've never had a normal year. And I know I'm so tired of hearing
Mm.
not a normal year, I mean, the terms,
What is
I'm
even
so over
normal?
them
Like,
all.
it's normal for every
Right?
year to be to be crazy in its own way.
Yes, exactly. It's crazy for every year to have these ups and these downs and, the flu, like the flu is such a thing. I was always cleaning my desk and practicing hand hygiene, washing hands before. So, what really happened that led me to the Burned In Teacher was I had the best summer of my life. And with that summer was I was happy. I was setting boundaries. I mean, I don't teach ESY, which, some special ed teachers do need to. I don't teach ESY because it wouldn't make sense for me with my kids being so little. But I had the best summer. And on one of your podcasts, you made this goal for us was to set a goal for your school year.
Mhm.
Because I will tell you that I've been listening to the podcast from like all the way when I go on a run. I will listen to a podcast. I'm like, all right, so I want to do, a 45-minute. Let's see which one is 45 minutes, and I will listen as I run, and I kind of pace myself.
I love that.
Except then when you say pen and paper, I'm like, Amber, I don't have that on this run. So, but I set the goal that I
Mhm.
wanted to enjoy my school year like I enjoyed my summer.
Mhm.
And then, okay, so then you do that little deep dive. What did I enjoy about my summer? Well, it was a little slower pace, which okay,
Mhm.
but we were still busy. For any parents out there or anybody that's ever been involved with swim team, we did summer swim and it was hours. So like it wasn't like I had an abundance of free time. I didn't. But I wanted to have such a great school year and enjoy myself that I was like, okay, how do I do this?
Mm.
Um, and that's where I found the Burned In Teacher. So I needed help in setting boundaries.
Mhm.
I needed help in leaving on time. I needed help knowing it was okay. I needed that reassurance
Mm.
because I especially think that for special ed teachers, and not all my students are verbal.
Mhm.
So I feel more of this, it's not a desire, this need that if their parents need me, I'm the voice.
Mhm.
And I wasn't turning myself off. And I just said, enough is enough. I want to enjoy this job, especially if I want to do it for years and years and years. So, first, I started with the podcast. That wasn't enough for me. Then I did a deep dive and went into the university and just haven't looked back.
Mhm. So, what steps have resonated with you the most?
I think that the batching and blocking have
Mm.
been the biggest game changer for me right now. I sat one day and I'm a mom. I'm a dog mom. You know,
Mm.
I'm married. I didn't even say that at all. I am married. I do have
I
help.
wondered.
Yes, right. I know. I never mention him. He's down there making sure the kids are having their dinner. But I sat down and one day and said, and I wrote down everything that I needed to do. Everything from vacuuming my floors to getting the wash done, to IEP progress monitoring, to staff evaluations, everything I could possibly do that would make my life easier because I know what makes my life easier. I know how a well organized Amy runs.
Mhm.
So I did all of that and put them into little blocks. And then I set reminders in my phone. I call it success for work.
Mhm.
I do that on Friday. So before I leave on Friday, I know that my plans are done. I print out my calendar. I write everything in there, but then I print it out. My staff lessons are done, or my staff like schedules, everything that I could think of. I know things will come in. Staff are going to call out. I know all of that's going to happen, but for the most part, I walk in on Monday morning and it's there and we go.
That's amazing. And I know exactly what you're talking about. That feeling is like it is the best feeling.
Yes.
To
I
leave
mean,
on Friday and know that Monday is waiting right there for you. There's nothing like it.
and I'm able to enjoy my weekend a little bit more
Mhm.
because I'm already set up for success.
Yeah.
It's important to me that my house is like right now everybody's been trekking leaves in left and right, but I set aside a little bit of time on Wednesdays to clean the floors and like that, then I'm not spending my whole weekend doing all of those tasks that
Mhm.
I was doing before. It
Mhm.
leaves me time to actually enjoy life. I get to go out with my friends. I get to take my kids somewhere, and it's not like we have all of this to do. I mean, I have just been able to, in the last few weeks, open up my life to be organized, productive, and by doing all of that, I'm so much happier.
Right? It's so interesting. And I love to ask the question, like, why? But not why are you teaching? Why do you want to make a change? Because if we don't start with that, we won't make a change. And for you, if you wanted to feel like summer you all
Yes.
year round, right? Like that was your why. Like, how can I live this life all year as much as possible? And it sounds to me like you really truly do come back to that in all of your decisions about your organization, your batching, your blocking, what you're spending your time on. Is that
I
true? Is that true?
That is completely true. I
Yeah.
have weeks where I'm like, this was great. And I get to see my friends. Not all my friends are teachers, some are.
Hmm.
But, I get to spend time with my friends that I was only spending time with during the summer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's not healthy. That's not
It's not
productive.
healthy and it's not guaranteed.
Right.
That's going really deep, but we're not guaranteed summer. We're not
No,
guaranteed, any more weekends. We are only guaranteed today. We're only guaranteed right
exactly.
now.
Right.
So
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I made the best of it,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
had to put the work in.
Yes.
I think what you have helped me in such a big way is given me the outline. You're not saying to me, Amy, you should be vacuuming your floors on Tuesday.
Mhm.
You're not saying that to me, but I was able to take what you made in that course, put it into my own life, and I just, went because that's what works best for me. And I think that's what I recommend this to everybody. People who are, I mean, in education right now, I see teachers who are completely burned out. But I also tell some new teachers that I mentor, I'm like, start now, learn now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the course, I talk about, feel the feelings. Your feelings
Mm-hmm.
are real, your feelings are valid, but then use those to ignite your curiosity and to learn. And that's what this process is all about, because I'm teaching you these strategies and these skills that I had to learn just by doing random research, because there was nothing out there for me when I
Nothing.
was struggling and I was crying in my car all the time. But then we can't just stop there. We can't just learn. We actually have to do those things. We have to try those things and take those risks, those calculated risks. And like you said, it is your personalized burnout plan. Like, all I'm laying out this process for you. And I'm not sure, have you made it through all of the modules already?
Not yet.
Okay, so I'll give you a quick sneak peek. So in the last module, you'll learn that this is what resilience looks like. And resilience doesn't mean that you will never have to face hardship again. And you'll learn that this process is cyclical. Like, you'll go
Mm-hmm.
through this anytime that you are faced with a hardship. You're going to have those steps to decide what your next best step is. Because the thing that is so hard for me to watch is for people to just be stuck and to just sit in that
Yeah.
unhappiness and just sit in that burnout. And it's so sad to me, because it's such a waste of potential to live such a beautiful life and to use those challenges
Right.
as an opportunity to grow, which it looks like you have done.
Yes. I mean, as a special ed teacher, but as a teacher in general, we're always teaching our kids to use different tools so that they can use that tool to
Mm,
then make something better. And often I feel like nobody teaches teachers what to use.
mm,
Nobody takes the time, there's that like quote, teachers are the is the only profession where you lose sleep about other people's kids.
mhm.
I mean, sometimes I'm up at night thinking about like, how can I best support this student?
Mm.
Oh, that happened. Their parents should know that.
Yeah.
Nobody gives us the tools to do, but now we do.
Yes.
And I'm just sleeping better
Mm.
because I have a plan. And I think that's what was missing for all of those years before. And I wish I had just found it. I don't, it wasn't around, you know
It
what I
wasn't even
mean?
there.
But
I was in the depths of my burnout
you
while you were.
you were going through your burnout.
Yes, I
So
was.
if I had just had something
Mm,
to help me see what could be, I just think like I feel like I'm a stronger teacher now
mm,
because I'm more organized. And it's not always easy. It's not saying that this is like a plan for, how to teach. No, I just get to be myself and do what I love.
mm,
And I feel for the first time in a really long time, hey, I can continue with this for years to come.
mm.
And there is nothing like that feeling.
There isn't. And especially for somebody, like, I can relate to what you're saying so, so deeply. And I did mention this on a recent podcast episode, about me not being afraid and why it is that I'm sharing how much I was struggling back in September. This is the first time in my career where I have not been looking for a way out of it or wondering if this
Right.
was my career for me. I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, mean every word I say when I say I want to do this job for a long time. Like,
Right.
I've always been a goalpost mover. I've always been someone who's on, my number one strength is futuristic. Like, I'm always thinking
Hmm.
about the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And now I'm just like, I'm so content in what I'm
Yes.
doing as a kindergarten teacher. I know that I have room to grow. I know that there are going to continue to be challenges, but that's in any career. In any career, you should
Right.
be faced with challenges that stretch you. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm not dreading it for the first time in my 14 years of teaching.
Right. And that's such a gift in itself. Like
Mhm.
to know that we're going to be okay and that we want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Special ed is not, the paperwork alone. I feel like it's often two jobs. We have the paperwork aspect of it and then the teaching aspect of it.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I was like, I am either a good teacher or on top of my paperwork. There's no happy medium.
Mhm.
And of course, the paperwork, a lot of times I would make sure I would get that done. But now I feel like, oh my gosh, like, great, look at me, I can
Look at
do
you.
this. And
Yes.
it's to leave, and then I leave now. I set an alarm to let myself know that it's 3:45. I should be leaving. And I'm like, oh, look at that. Like it's 3:35 and I'm already set up for the next day. Like
For a special education teacher to
10
be able to
years ago,
say
even.
that, yeah,
Oh,
that's that's insane. Like I feel like
it's
people who
insane.
are in special ed listening to this, they're like, she's crazy. There's no possible way.
Mhm. And there is.
Hmm.
And there's, I hope people know, like, it's not always easy. I did the 40, or I did the how many hours a week. And
Hmm.
I really, I spent the time to make the plan, and that's, wasn't always easy finding, a nice time to actually reflect on everything that I had to do, wanted to do. I did those hours. So I give myself a little bit of free time over the weekend,
Hmm.
but I don't even always need it anymore
Hmm.
because
Wow.
I'm that on top of things. And it's just like, whoa, how? You know,
Yeah,
how did
you
I
are
get
capable of
here?
amazing things, but you have to believe that you are first.
Yes.
So, two more questions for you. Number one, what plans do you have for yourself moving forward?
Moving forward, I am going to really, I just want to kind of keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with like where I am, the school I'm at. I would like to continue. I really just want to maintain right now. If
Yeah.
I could maintain what I'm doing right now, I'm able to leave at 3:45, 4 o'clock, and I go for a run.
Hmm.
Um, and then I come home and I've gotten my day is done, my workout's done. I'm able to enjoy my family.
Hmm.
So my goal is really just to kind of maintain. And then in school wise, I just want to keep growing my program, learning about all the new programs that are out there, learning about new strategies, everything. I feel like you can learn so much. I just want to make sure I take the time. We have a local intermediate unit that does trainings. So I want to like actually set aside the time to learn stuff that's of interest to me. I don't
Hmm.
really have a desire to go back to school. I just want to kind of strengthen my own teaching.
I love that so much. I'm there too. I really want to maintain this. I mean, my two core values are kindness and joy in
Mm-hmm.
in my teaching in my classroom. I want to teach kids to be kind and I also want them to just feel joy. Um
Mm-hmm.
so that's exactly how I feel as well. All right, last question.
Okay.
So, what advice would you give a teacher who is struggling with burnout right now?
I think that if somebody was struggling right now with burnout, I would tell them to just stop and really put the time into thinking why. I often think that we just push through our burnout.
Mhm.
We keep thinking, I'll wake up tomorrow and it will be better. Or let me get to this break and it will be better. Let me get to next weekend. It will be better. My advice would be just to stop because it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better until you put the boundaries in. You
Mhm.
put the changes in, but you can't really do any of that until you know why it's happening. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes we don't want to have those hard conversations, even with ourselves.
Yeah.
I know way back when I was my own worst enemy because I was bringing work home
Mhm.
and I should have stopped that. So I think my advice would be just to stop and put that time into it. Even just little changes make such a big impact.
They really do.
And when you set your goals, maybe your goal, like I think a lot of times in teaching, we think our goal is to be a doctor or administrator. You and I are both, we've been teaching for a while, and our goal right now is to maintain what we're doing. And I think that's okay as
Mhm.
well for people to know, like, you can get to that point.
Yeah.
We're not trying to, be the superintendent of a school. We just, I am very happy being an autistic support teacher. You're very happy being a kindergarten teacher, and that's okay.
Yes.
And I think that's what needs to be said.
I love that you said that because I think something that is kind of misinformed or misunderstood about what Burn in Teacher stands for is that I am here trying to tell you to suck it up and just enjoy, you know, where you are right now. Or I'm trying to get teachers out of teaching. And it's
Right,
neither nor those things. It's what do you want?
right,
What do you, because if you want to be a superintendent, that's awesome. We need some
right.
really great superintendents out there.
Yes,
So if that is what you truly desire, then what is it that you need to do to get there?
right.
Because if you are keeping yourself stuck in this belief of like, I could never do that, or, it's too expensive to get my doctorate, or, all of these number of negative self-talks that keep us safe and keep us the same, yes, it's expensive to get your doctorate, but if that's what your goal is, what are you going to do to get yourself there
Get it.
financially, right? So,
Mhm.
I mean, that's just one of the many examples, and if you do want to leave education, like that is an option for you. But
Right.
really think through it because as somebody who has left teaching twice and returned
Mhm.
twice, I'm here to tell you,
Yes.
I don't want anybody out there to make a knee-jerk decision.
Yeah.
But I do also love what you said earlier about you left for this to start this program at the elementary school, but you knew that you could go back
Yes.
essentially if you wanted to. And that's such a privilege to be able to say. And I
Yes.
think for a lot of teachers, they feel like if they leave to pursue maybe a different career path, they
Mhm.
might be telling themselves that I can't leave and then go back. Like, gosh, I would be so ashamed. It would look like I failed, or it would look like I'm wishy-washy. Like life is messy. We're
Right.
learning as we go. Like no one has this crazy life figured out.
Nope. Nobody has it figured out. And really, if you're doing what's best for yourself, sometimes when you do go, then they're like, "Oh, a missing piece," and then you come back, and people are so happy. I'm in a small district. I just recently went to a training at the middle school. I ran into so many people that were so happy to see me,
Mhm.
and it made me feel good, not that they miss me, but, like, that I left an impact, that people
Yes.
still remember me, and they're like, "It's so nice to see your face."
Oh,
So, and I never would have had that experience if I had not gone down to the elementary school. And I love elementary. I feel so lucky that I learned my heart belongs in the elementary school.
yeah.
But I also know that, like, I wouldn't be where I was if I had not gone through everything that I'd gone through
Mm.
before.
Yeah, yeah, and it seems like it really has made you stronger, a more resilient person, more resilient
Mhm.
teacher, and you've really taken ownership over your burnout. I mean, that's the ultimate goal too, is like, it's not your fault that this happened, but it is your
Right.
responsibility, and you have taken full
Yes.
responsibility for your burnout and for everything that's going to happen from here on out.
Right. I totally took responsibility. I learned from it. And while I would never want somebody to learn, I would never want somebody to feel burned out. I wouldn't wish that on somebody. I want, people to, especially new special ed teachers that are, up to their eyeballs in paperwork. I
Yeah.
want them to know, like, it does get better and you get better.
Mhm.
The special ed teacher that I was 17 years ago is definitely not the person. I would spend hours writing IEPs. Now, you do get better in time and in practice.
Yeah.
And I'm able to enjoy every area of my life because I've made the changes and, I am totally burned in.
Oh, I can't think of a better way to end this episode because I really do feel like you are the epitome of a burn-in teacher, and you've not even finished the course yet.
And I know I exactly like my life changed just in a little bit of time that and I don't say that lightly. I had a lot of goals
Mm.
and a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I didn't know where to start. So it was
Mm.
easier for me not to start. And then
Oh
I
my
just
gosh.
did some, you know, little batching of work here, and I have clean bathrooms and clean floors every week.
That is also the best feeling.
Yes, clean bathrooms.
Well, Amy, I am so, so grateful that you were willing to spend time with me today and you were willing to be so brave and to share your story. Because I know it's not always an easy thing to do, but I just really appreciate you sharing just your transformation over the last couple of weeks or months.
Yes. And thank you for all the hard work that you've done because, it's so nice that you do these burned in teacher episodes so that other people can hear, okay, like I resonate with that. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Maybe a special ed teacher will listen and be like, hey, okay, there is hope through the paperwork.
There is hope for the
So thank
paperwork.
you so much.
It is from the bottom of my heart such a pleasure, and I just really appreciate that you are I'm just really so grateful that you're seeing results in your own life because that has been my goal, my number one goal. Even when I didn't really understand back in 2016 what Burn In Teacher was going to be, I just knew that I didn't want people to feel the way that I was feeling and to stay there because
Right?
it is the hardest. It's hard. It's even hard for me to go back and imagine how I felt back in those days. It is the hardest thing to go
Yes.
through by yourself and to feel like no one understands you and that there's no way out.
And there's no way, right?
All right.
But your goals, here I am.
Yes. And I'm so, so glad to have met you, Amy. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We are so grateful. I cannot wait for the listeners to hear this. So thanks again.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, take a deep breath because you just took another step to becoming a burned in teacher. Burn on. If you enjoyed today's podcast episode, you can head over to burnedinteacher.com where you can access the entire vault of Burned In Teacher podcast episodes and more information about ways I want to help you go from burned out teacher to burned in human. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would be so grateful if you would head over to iTunes and leave a review and a rating about the Burned In Teacher podcast. Until next time, take a deep breath because you just took another step to becoming a burned in teacher. Burn on.